Today's conversation is for anyone who has ever felt that quiet dimming of their own light, that sense of purpose fading or feeling just out of reach. Maybe you're the one that everyone relies on, but you're quietly carrying the weight. Maybe you're successful by every external measure, but still feel a deep, unnamed longing for something more. If you've ever asked yourself, what is my purpose, or felt the ache of suffering in silence, this episode is for you. I am so honored to be joined by the brilliant and deeply compassionate Dr. Esther Zeledón. This is a conversation about coming back to yourself and about building a life of service that doesn't sacrifice your soul. Let's get into it. You're listening to the Soul Aligned Self-Care Podcast. I'm your host, Tina Stinson, and I had a stroke at the age of 39 from stress and burnout that shook my world. Now I'm laying it all out, the deep level self-care practices and mindset shifts that I needed that kept me healthy, balanced, and thriving. Join me in this intimate space as we explore healing, resilience, and the soul's journey to alignment. This is where real conversations about deep level self-care happen. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome to the Soul Aligned Self-Care Podcast. How are you doing today?
Good. Excited to be.
I'm excited to have you. I like to kind of get started by asking a question that could be kind of define like who you are a little bit. And so I wanted to ask you, like at this moment in time, if you could say like in one sentence what your purpose is, how would you define that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I've been my whole brand is around purpose, right? And purpose has different elements, different purpose has a thing about I expand a little bit on the Japanese model, right? It's not just like what you love and what you can do, but also like the legacy you want to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Also, like your unique how you solve problems. So actually, I was thinking about it recently because I was thinking about like I feel like the everything else kind of stays the same throughout your life, but your legacy and how you want to leave it kind of changes.
Mm-hmm.
I've been reflecting on that, but I think in general, if I the statement probably is still the same, that my purpose is to be the kind of a lighthouse for folks, right? So my superpowers, I know how to unpack mission, vision, purpose, help people make it happen and keep it going.
Mm-hmm.
But underneath that, right, that's how I do it. But I think my power is that when people feel that light dimmed or don't see it in full brightness, that's what I do.
Yeah.
So that's what I meant to do every day. It's
Yeah,
like,
purpose.
yeah,
Purpose is like a really interesting subject because I think a lot of people define it differently.
yep,
And as I move through my life, I think I define it differently
yeah,
the more I really the more I learn about myself and the world, the
exactly.
more I change the definition of purpose. And I think that's a
Yeah,
pretty normal thing that happens as we get older, you know.
yeah,
We begin to define our purpose differently. I think a good question to explore, because I think there's a lot of people out there that feel this way, is why do you think so many people feel dimmed? Why do you think so many people feel like they either can't step into what their purpose is or they don't? A lot of people feel like they don't know what their purpose is.
yeah. Well, a big part of it is that it feels unattainable,
Mm.
right? And so we have these, I find it really interesting, like when you go talk to kids, right? Like, and I've done this experiment. So, like a background's in science, a scientist, right? So I love doing like data experiments. And when you talk to kids that are like 7, they have big visions. They're very clear when you ask them, like, what would you do with $40 billion? What thing in the world would you change? They can draw it out so clearly. And
Hmm.
they have this vision of what it's going to look like and everything. But by the time they're in 4th grade, the light's already dimming because like you start to ask 4th graders and 5th graders, and they're already starting to fumble.
Hmm.
Be like, oh, my parents say this, my teachers say this, my friends say this. So you already start to see that at that age, right?
That's early.
Yeah, so it's early.
Yeah.
And the distinction between the 7-year-old and the 9, 10-year-old is already really big. So that question is pretty loaded, right? Because why does our light dim?
Mm-hmm.
Light already started to dim around that age. Because
Yeah.
we're starting to hear the noise, right? When we're younger, we don't hear the noise as much. You're still like in your imagination,
Mm-hmm.
head, and you still are like, yes, I'm gonna do this and obtainable and excited for it. At 9, you're already starting to feel the pressure all around you, and you're already starting to feel like, the approval of either my peers, my parents, society around me, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So the light dims, that's why I say it's loaded, right? It starts to dim because of your exterior.
Mm-hmm.
And then also because you start to feel it gets unattainable, right? You start to, and especially as we start getting older, we start to feel like I start to see it even with my friends to be like, like this thing of I got to accept the lane I'm on.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like I start to see like, oh, I can't, it's so unobtainable because this is the lane I'm in. I'm never going to be in that lane. Right. And so like this whole feeling of I need to accept my situation for what it is. And I think there's a confusion around that, right? Because some people are like, well, by through accepting, then I can have more gratitude. But when you start going down that slippery slope, like of
Mm-hmm.
course you should have gratitude, but when you start changing into I need to have interpreting it as I need to have gratitude, meaning that I can't dream big,
Mm-hmm.
then you start dimming your light. But I think also it's like impatience, right? We want instant dopamine, instant gratification, right? And so, I mean, I struggle with this too. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like we start to think like, oh, 10 years is so far. I don't see it in 1 year. And so you're like, forget it. I just need to give up on it. When a lot of these journeys are 5 years, five or more years, and it goes by really fast, but in that moment we feel it very far. So then
Yeah.
I start to be like, oh, I really should just focus on this small piece and just do day to day. But as you start doing that, right, you start seeing people's energy levels go down and they start to dim and they start to
Yeah.
the value they bring. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it is hard to like
Hard.
be in it for the long haul. But I think if you just shift your mindset a little bit sometimes to the fact that it's not really about the end point, it's more about all
Exactly.
the things that happen along the way. And we all know this, we all
Exactly.
heard, it's
Intellectually.
all about the journey, that,
Yeah.
that cheesy saying. But it's actually true. It's actually
Yeah.
true because you find, like, think about all the times that you've had a big goal in your life and you've reached it. What's the first thing that you do? You have a new goal. You're like, okay, what's next?
Exactly.
What's next?
Exactly. It's not this lightning moment.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And some people don't even celebrate, especially women. Women aren't
Yeah.
as good at celebrating as men are. And so like
Absolutely.
celebrating your wins is important. What do you think
Yeah.
the difference is between someone who, you know, is stuck in that place where they feel like they don't have a purpose and they are stuck and they're not moving forward and they're just kind of feel very stagnant compared to someone who really never had that problem. They just thrive all the time and they move forward. What do you think that difference is? Like, do you think it's a lot of different things, or is it like the way they were raised, or a mindset thing, or what do you think it is?
Yeah. And sometimes you could be um the person that is both. So
Mm-hmm.
so so like I can say that in my case. Um I have gone through both. So there has been a time in my life where I felt like I didn't have a purpose and lost and all that. And then I've had the other moment where I'm full on, like I know exactly where I'm going and super inspired and super energized, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in my case, I've noticed it comes down to understanding what my inner motivation is.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, like I love this values. So I love everything around values, right? Because everyone has different, everyone thinks they, I think it's like I read some stat, like 8 out of 10 people don't really know what their values really are. We think
Mm-hmm.
we do, like we think they're societal ones, like, oh, it's family and love and this, but actually it's a lot more nuanced.
Mm-hmm.
And your values tell you about your motivation. So for me, I was really surprised in doing that analysis because I used to think that my motivation was safety because of my upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
So my upbringing was like, it was always like uncertain financial instability. So I was really like financial stability is number one. And that's why I chased like the American dream and having the financial stability. But when I had all that, then I felt like then I was losing my purpose and myself.
Mm-hmm.
It was coming at expense. And now I've been able to mirror to have both. I can have financial stability and also live, like you said, the journey, right? Every day, my purpose rather than a destination.
Mm-hmm.
But when I mistaken that motivation, I was first, when I would hit rock bottom or those times I felt lost, I thought I first had to gain safety, right? And so that lack of not understanding my motivation is those times where then I would feel that lostness,
Mm-hmm.
that like staring into space, like looking for any type of joy, or even feeling just exhaustion and fatigue all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But when I understood that actually my motivation is self-actualization, I'm actually 75% self-actualization. I actually have no safety as a motivator. Safety is
Mm-hmm.
a trauma response. I realized that actually when I hit rock bottom, I have to have a vision of like the impact I want to make on people. I have to understand like what kind of service I want to bring. How do I want to help like bring that 7-year-old back? That actually
Mm-hmm.
when I do that and I'm clear on my vision, that's when I get out of rock bottom. That's when my motivation kicks in. And that's when I understand like what it is, the impact I want to have and how I want to have it, boom, I'm full on, right? I'm on the course. I understand it. I celebrate that every day because I know who I'm helping and how I'm helping them. And it's person by person. And it's rooted in service and care and in my values. One of my values is meaningful work.
Yeah.
But it's those times for me, it's because I've gotten the motivation wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like thinking I need to do safety first when it's really I have to have like a new legacy. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's where it ties back to that whole purpose conversation where we started, right? It's
Yeah.
understanding what's that new needle I want to move? What's that legacy I want to bring? Like, how do I want to use that everyday purpose into what impact is when I don't have that clear, that's when I feel lost. And so I think that's true for a lot of people. They've mistaken it. And so like they don't understand that, right? Other people may have growth as their motivator. Some people do have safety as their motivator. A lot of people do. And some
Mm-hmm.
people have love and belonging. They need to be around people, right? They need to have that support network first. And so when you understand that, when you understand what it is that you need to motivate you, that's tied to your values, that's the difference between either feeling, I don't know, lost and being like a zombie all day,
Yeah.
and feeling like, oh, I am here for a purpose, a reason, and I do bring value into other people's lives and my surroundings just by being me, right? Just by being.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a big part of it. And I feel like there's a lot of people out there that, are in that stuck place or they feel lost and
Yeah.
they feel all this pressure to find their purpose and they think it should look a certain way. It should
Yeah.
be like this big, massive thing. And I find myself telling people sometimes like it doesn't necessarily have to be some
Oh,
big, massive, like you want to change a million lives. It could just
yeah.
be, I want to bring joy to the people
Exactly.
around me. I want to,
Yeah.
um, keep my family connected and show them I love them, and that's my purpose, and you really have to. I think it's hard for people to get clear. Like I feel like there's a lot of people listening right now who are probably like, well, I'm so glad that you guys know what your purpose is. So how do I find, how do I
Yeah.
find
Yeah.
how do I find mine and how do I decide what, what my motivator is, So like for a long time I thought my motivator was safety also. And then I was like, I can't remember where I saw this. It was a workshop I did, like an entrepreneurial workshop. And oh my God, I wish I could remember who did this, but it was like, it was called a 7 levels deep or something like that. And you asked a question 7 times about why you wanted something. So say, I said, my motivator was security or safety, right?
Yeah.
Well, why? And then after that answer, well, why? Why? And it like d dug you like deeper. And ever
Yeah.
since I did that exercise, I was like, I think my motivator is freedom, you know?
Hmm.
And for a long time, I was very happy with that definition. And I think now that I'm older, I'm at a different turning point in my life. So my question to you is, do you think that these things change over time? Like as you move through different parts of your life?
Um, I mean, I do think that you become more self-aware of who you are. I would say it's more that you come full circle.
Hmm.
Yeah, because I think like I've become more with age, my 7-year-old self, and I think like when I think about all the people I've coached, it's they go back full circle. And I think
Hmm.
it's like we first spend a good part of our lives trying to amend ourselves to society and to people,
Yeah.
and then we go back to who we really are.
Yeah.
So sometimes people can stay the same because they know who there's some people that are better at canceling the noise than others.
Hmm.
And then there's others who are more prone, right, to like people pleasing, and I'm one of those, right? So then it's a much more full circle journey of when you're more comfortable to be who you are at your
Yeah,
core.
absolutely. Yeah.
It made me start to think about like one way of, like living your purpose every day is how you solve problems for people every day. One exercise I think for listeners is like that I have people I coach do is like go back in time. Like I have them go tell me when you helped, how you, if you were to remember your whole life, right? Remember someone like if it's your funeral and people
Hmm.
are talking and they're talking about how you helped them and they have that memory and that scene. It's like go back in your life of like when you were 7, when you helped
Hmm.
someone, how did you help them? What was the situation? What was the scenario? Why'd they come to you at 17, at 22, at 27, right? 30, and you start to see the trends
Hmm.
that you've been helping people. People have sought you out for the same type of things over the years. And it's like the context might change, but how you help them is similar.
Hmm.
So you haven't really changed that much in how you help people solve problems, right? And so the question then is when purpose can be exciting because it's like, okay, so I have this gift of helping people solve problems a certain way. And then you could think about the legacies like, how do you want to from now on help people?
Hmm.
Because maybe it wasn't who you wanted to help, but who do you want to help now?
Yeah.
Or what? Or because it could be some people, it's like animals or the environment or something, right? But
Yeah.
how do you want to contribute? How do you have this opportunity to? And sometimes that scares people because you want to know, right? If you have
Hmm.
safety as a motivator, you kind of want the control of I want to know exactly what's going to happen, but instead you could see it as an opportunity of where you get to define it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the whole safety thing for me was, like you said, like a trauma kind of a thing.
Yeah,
And I feel like the freedom thing was also kind of like a part of that to a certain
yeah,
degree.
mine too.
Yeah, and now that I'm stepping out of that, I'm like maybe it's like what you said, it's just this progress where I'm just coming back to myself and I just feel completely comfortable. And yeah, and I feel like I when I see somebody get to that point when they're younger, it makes me so happy because I'm like, oh, I wish I
Mhm.
could have gotten to that point when I was a little bit younger. But then at the same time, I feel like, well, this is
Yeah.
my life. This is the way it was supposed to play out, and it played out that way for a reason. And the people that
Hmm.
I'm helping, I've been with and connected to the people that I'm supposed to help and the people that are supposed to help me at those times in my life. And so
Exactly.
I feel like, you know, I don't feel like this enormous pressure anymore to be like, this is my purpose and I have to work towards my purpose. And I don't think I don't think it should really feel like work,
Exactly.
if
Yeah.
not the right word. It should feel very natural and kind of like flowy to
Hmm.
be in your purpose. And it took me a long time to figure that out. I was a people pleaser also for like a really long time. And like professional, like top level people
Exactly.
pleaser.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Same.
You know? And
Yeah,
so when you're in that place, it's a journey back to get out of that, and I feel like
exactly.
it never completely goes away. It's so
Yeah.
like entrenched in everything that you've done for a lot of your adult life that it kind of you're like, "Oh, I'm doing that again." Yeah, kind of
Oh
deal.
yeah. No, no. You never. It's we're helping the people like two chapters behind. Right? We
Exactly.
we
Yeah.
get more tools, we get more ability because it also has like a diamond side to it, right? Like being a people pleaser also means you have a big heart and you care a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a positive side to it, but it's always keeping in balance the shadow side, right? So that's never going to stop
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
existing, but you learn how to balance it better. And you learn how to also be like, I can give it to who I choose.
Mm-hmm.
And then also that I can receive. I think that has been the biggest part for me too, is learning to receive.
Yeah,
You're a
that's
giver. You're like, I don't, you feel uncomfortable receiving
mm-hmm.
because
Yeah,
you
I
don't want to
don't
put that
anymore.
burden.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm very comfortable receiving now, but I used to be extremely uncomfortable with it.
Yeah.
And now that I'm, kind of on the other side of that, when somebody else does that, when I see somebody else that's really uncomfortable with receiving, I'm like, I notice it. It's something I
Yeah.
notice, and I
Exactly.
didn't used to notice that before.
And you can help them.
Is there a
Mhm.
certain type of person that you seem to gravitate towards that you work with?
Yes. Yeah. So, it's me in the past, right? So
Mhm.
the person who I help is my younger self. So it's the high, I call it the high achiever with the heart,
Yeah.
right? So it's the high achieving trailblazer that has the bleeding heart. That's who I help. So it's
Yeah.
like the change maker, the overgiver, the person who wants to do good in society, but also holding it together for all their family and friends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's who I help. But also like but it's the person. That's the high achiever, right? So does everything, is a person everyone relies on and leans on, but suffers in silence.
Mm-hmm.
So what's great about understanding who I help too is that I understand too, because I post on social media and things. I understand that they're not going to be the ones that are like heavy commenters and things, right? Because they're not going to be the ones who want to be publicly known that they're
Oh,
getting
yeah.
help. They want to be
Mm-hmm.
more private. So I understand that too, right? That's why like a group community is never going to be like where, you have those communities where people are just like talking about their feelings. They're never going to be that unless I can create some space with that, which I've been able to do through breath work. There
Mm-hmm.
they will speak as they're intentionally going to that. But there's other places where they're not, right? Because there's like a
Yeah.
professional image they have to keep and things. And I understand that because I was that person. And that everything's a journey. So even like coming to terms with being who you want to be, the feeling of loss, the feeling of having to look a certain way. I would even like always used to blow dry my hair perfectly straight and looked a certain way. So, I know what that's like. And now
Mm-hmm.
it's like what you're saying about the freedom, even having like if you see this on video, having my hair like be whatever and wearing bracelets, all that is part of that is embracing that childlike person. But that's who I help. And that's like the book I wrote was for them because I barely saw any books tailored to the high achiever that was an account that was vulnerable, right? So all the books that we read on high achieving people, it's on
Mm-hmm.
their success,
Yeah.
but it's not on all the messy ups and downs that come with it and all the suffering and silence that comes in the middle of all that. So yeah. So I wrote that even as a healing process for myself. And I was like, yeah, no one would have thought all that messiness that I went through in my life. They're like, even people reach out to me, you were going through that then? But you seemed fine, right? With the smile.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah.
tell me more about the book. Share a little bit about the book with me.
Yeah, so the book is it's called Creating Your Limitless Life, but I have crossed out Chasing the American Dream.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I talk about that, about like, well, because my story starts with I was born in Nicaragua and I was given 3 weeks to live, and my dad won the lottery and saved my life.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
so interesting.
So it starts that way. And
Mm-hmm.
so but it had a double effect on me. And I know that that's naturally me because the people pleasing, over giving tendency. So, how I interpreted that was one, I was raised to be, to just survive, right? So, I wasn't
Mhm.
given the, oh, Esther, have all these dreams, right? It was like, oh my gosh, you're so fragile. So, let's just create you the survival, right?
Mhm.
And that's enough. But then what that did was I was like, well, I have no space to be a burden or talk about things that I want, right? I didn't deserve to do that.
Mhm.
So they created this high achiever in me where I was like, I wanted to give back to them. I wanted to give back to society. I was given this opportunity, but at the same time, that fueled depression and anxiety,
Mhm.
right? Because I was constantly being for everyone else, but depleting myself.
Yes.
Yeah. So I talk about that journey. So you could see like I had the whole high achiever thing. I went to Swarthmore, I got my PhD from Berkeley, I worked in all these places, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
everything, like every success you can think of, right? I
Yeah.
obtained. But then I went at the expense
Mhm.
of relationships, the expense of friendships, the expense of being lonely, right? Of a lot of things. And so the book goes through that journey and then how do you break free from that? And then I have the whole chapter on how do you discover your purpose? And so then I talk about the different models that exist around purpose, but I always found them a little incomplete. And maybe other people will still
Yeah.
add on to, right?
Yeah.
To the own model that worked for me. But it allows people to introspect. Like these are the questions to ask yourself, right? That I had to ask myself, like what because then I hit rock bottom with all the check marks. I
Mhm.
couldn't understand it. And no one around me could understand it. They're like, you have the perfect life, right? You have the house, the career, the this. And I was in a job that gave back too, but there
Mhm.
was something not right.
Yeah.
And so how do you find that alignment? And so that book, then the second part of the book is all those questions. And then I have a workbook because the workbook came after because then I got demand for, well, I want to do the exercises and deeper.
Yeah.
So then I created the workbook.
Very cool. Very cool. I love
Yeah.
that. So you
Hmm.
said you said something earlier when you were talking about the type of person that you work
Yeah.
with, and you said they suffer in silence,
Yeah.
connect with them through the breath work. So tell me a little about that.
Yeah. 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 So it's really hard to be vulnerable if
Mm-hmm.
you're like this high achiever with the heart, right? Well, one, you don't want to burden anyone, right? So sometimes people confuse it and they're like, oh, it's because the person wants to keep a persona.
Mm-hmm.
But it's actually a lot deeper than that. It's because they don't want to burden anyone with their emotions and their feelings. So
Mm-hmm.
just like, as I guess, so I want to like create some empathy around that. People are like, oh, it's because they want to appear to have a perfect life. And I'm like, no, not exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So the breath work, what I love about breath work was that one, it helped me
Yeah.
because I tried meditation without
Mm-hmm.
the breath work and I still love meditation and sound healing, but it doesn't silence my mind. All right. So
Mm-hmm.
when you're high achiever, you have like all the list and all the people, right, constantly of what do you need to do, when you need to do it, who you need to please, constantly. And breathwork was one of those practices since it's actively and it's guided, right? You don't have to think about where you have to go, and someone's talking the whole time and telling, and you have to focus on breathing and stay
Mm-hmm.
with the breath.
Yeah.
For me, and for other people, it's sometimes with yoga. With yoga, um, I wasn't able to exactly connect fully with myself either. I still enjoy the practice. I think everyone should try all practices.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
But
agree.
the breath work, I was able to create community around it and actually do it in person and virtual in the sense that I would invite everyone to come and create the environment of we're all going to do this together as a group, and this is a safe space and it's intentional.
Mm-hmm.
People actually do it for 45 minutes, right? And when you finish that practice, it's so emotional and it's so raw that's what allows a lot of the people who are the high achievers to once one person shares in the circle. So I like and why I do it in a circle is because I follow the indigenous Mayan, tradition of where you do it in community, you do it in a circle, you do it to talk after, to
Mm-hmm.
up with decisions and things. And so there is where people feel safe then to say, this is what came up to me in the vision, or they start listening to other people and then they feel like they can talk and they won't be judged there. And I usually combine the communities so that people, it's like, it may not, they don't have anywhere, no one there is from their work or from their family, right? It's a space,
Yeah.
no one knows you. So you get to just be X person. You don't even have to give your real name.
Yeah.
So it allows people to actually like communicate and release without judgment.
You do
So
these like
yeah.
online or like,
Now I do it online. I did it in
yeah.
person for a long time. And I
Yeah.
did it with my husband. We both did it together. And now we do it online because it's become global. Right?
Hmm.
It's not just in one place. And that way, and actually the globalness allows people to even feel even safer because they're like, oh, this person doesn't even live in my city, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I even make the invite where your email address is not shown, right? So it's like
Hmm.
completely safe, confidential. You can even have your camera off. You can put another name, but it
Yeah.
allows people to communicate and express without judgment or fear.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I've had the same experience with breath work.
Yeah.
There's been like a few practices and I'm a breath work instructor
I
and a
saw
meditation.
that.
Yeah.
I love that. I saw that. I was like, oh, it was like one of my, one of my people.
Yeah, it really was life-changing for me. It was like a
Right.
different path. I used it really as I was like going through menopause and I had like a lot of sleep issues and then like also blood pressure changes and extra anxiety levels or your
Oh,
anxiety
yeah.
levels go like crazy when you go through
Yes.
menopause. And so breath work was so instantaneous, and I've always been the type of person like I'm very spiritual.
Yeah.
But
Too.
I love connecting the science behind spiritual
Me too.
practices.
Me too.
Yeah, and it's like breath work is one of those things that's so easy to do. And
Exactly.
so when I have a client who, doesn't really understand why I'm telling them to try breath work, I explain the science behind it. And
Exactly.
sometimes, they automatically connect with that
Yes.
first.
Same thing. Same. That's what
Yeah.
I do with the high achievers. I lure them in with the science only.
Yeah.
It reduces
Yeah,
your
because
anxiety. It brings oxygen to the back of your brain. It's going to open your creative outlet, your intuition. But then when
yeah.
they go in and they have a whole spiritual experience as well.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So I do love it. I also really like yoga nidra. That's been really life-changing for me. Have you ever tried that?
I've heard about it. I haven't tried it yet.
Yeah, you should really try it. I'm
Okay.
actually going through a certification right now. So just
Ooh,
kind of like learning about the whole process of it and how it works and what it actually does for you and I started doing that for the sleep issues that I was having also. And it was like, I was like, I love this so much that I have to learn how to do it. I have to figure this. I have to learn
yeah.
why it works. That's just how I am. And so I'm doing that right now.
I'm the
But
same
yeah,
way. That's why the breath work we got certifying because we're like, I have to learn all about it.
yes. Yeah, and I maybe we could probably talk after about this because I don't know if my listeners are genuinely interested in this, but I've done multiple different certifications and I just feel like I'm constantly searching for more when it comes to the breath work. I just want to learn more, so it's very interesting.
Yeah.
So when you talk about your the client that you work with a lot and you say they suffer in
Yeah.
silence, why do you think that is? Why do you think that they stay at that point?
Yeah. It's the deep things, right? It's the I don't want to be a burden to my friends or to my surroundings.
Okay.
And then it's also like, yeah, a big part of it's the burden part.
Okay.
I don't want to burden them. I'm the one people come to for solutions and things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
And so
that's
then I don't want to have to, yeah, they need help. So how can they help me?
yes.
And they're
Yeah.
not going to understand me is the other one. No one's
Yeah.
going to understand what I'm going through. And then it's also habit.
Mm,
It's it's also like one, you've been holding it for everyone for so long that you don't even know how to ask for help. And I can say that like I still am learning how to ask for help. Like even this year was a hard year. I feel like 2025 was a difficult year. And
Oh my God. Yeah. Like a roller coaster.
roller coaster. And
Yeah.
like even this year, like I could say I started to feel a little bit like my avatar, my person again, right? This is what you're saying. We're always going through it.
Mm-hmm.
Because this year, like so many people, right, lost their jobs in this. So this year I did like 1,200 coaching hours and like I donated 400, right? We have a social enterprise, so we donate 30%. But the amount of requests I was getting for I need help and for like wanting help for free from my friends in my circle
Mm-hmm.
started to be really overwhelming and affecting my mental health because I was like, I can't, I have to cap at 30%.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I wasn't responding to folks, when people start getting used to you giving. People get
Mm-hmm.
angry when you don't give, right? And don't
Yeah.
understand why you can't, or they push like, well, when can you? Why can't you? Right? And for me, I had reached a tipping point this year, the amount.
Mm-hmm.
I found myself being my person again, like suffering in silence, where I was like, I'm so overwhelmed by it. And I'm usually the high energy person, right? So like high energy,
Yeah.
like I have the high functioning anxiety, but I can do it. And I have my methods. But this year I was like, wow, I think I've reached a tipping point.
Mm-hmm.
And I found myself in my person again being like, well, but instead of going to people for help, I retreated.
Okay.
I found myself retreating because I'm like, they're already going through so much. So I was like, whoa, I am the person I help. Revisiting that chapter again where I understand it because I'm like, I don't want to be a burden for all these folks that are going through so much. They're
Mm-hmm.
not going to understand. Or when you do ask somebody, they're just like, well, just have boundaries.
Yeah.
Well, I know. I
Yeah.
understand that, but it's a bigger issue than that. It's
Mm-hmm.
yes, I can tell them no and all these things, but how do I open up, right? How do I get the support I need during that time of being comfortable with not being able to help everyone? Like, because it's more than just boundaries work. It's also understanding that it's okay. It's the you can't sleep because you're like worried
Mm-hmm.
about the world or about people suffering or about, a lot of people are worried about their team or the person and you're carrying
Mm-hmm.
everyone's worries.
Yeah.
So that's the suffering in silence. You're carrying it all. And how do you find a place, right, to be able
Mm-hmm.
to talk about that and release that other than like therapy with your support network?
Yeah.
And
I feel like
that's hard.
yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like you and I are living on the same plane. Um, because yeah, the coaching got really hard this year. And it was different for me. I love that you do like you give the 30%, and I think that's absolutely beautiful. Um, but I'm not doing that. Like I'm not giving away my coaching, and it wasn't the amount of coaching I was doing because I was doing maybe a little bit more coaching. It was more about the
The
heaviness
heaviness. Yep,
of the
I was gonna,
coaching.
yeah, exactly. It
It was
was so
so,
heavy
oh
this
my
year.
God. Yeah. And I
Yep,
began to like having to do like,
yep,
I began having to limit the days I'm coaching. So I
yep.
changed the days I was coaching
I did that
and
too.
I had to do practices in between. So I had to leave
Yes.
spaces in between the coaching for me
Hmm.
to like almost do like some breath work
Yep.
or a clearing or like
Yes. Yep.
some kind of energy work to
Yeah.
like be able to show up for the next person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's led to a big change in a very big change in my
Yep.
business.
Yep.
And I'm still actually moving through that. Like, I still don't know what
Yes.
that's going to look like next year, but I know it's going to be different.
Same. Same. Same.
It's
And,
really
and
weird.
yep. Same. And I think the listeners can relate too because we're talking about a coaching space, right? But it
Yeah.
could be you could be the one that's holding it for all your friends right now or
Yeah. Or your family.
family.
Mhm.
Exactly. And it's tough. And that's the suffering in silence part because how do you explain that, right? How do you explain?
Mhm.
It's even hard to explain, right? Because like when the minute you
Yeah.
say, I was like, exactly the heaviness, but
Mhm.
it's carrying that. is so much. And
Mm-hmm.
then that's what I mean about the receiving is what kind of thing do you need to receive to help with that? And I'm still figuring that out. And how do you still show up,
Mm-hmm.
right, without the draining? And
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
that's the toughness. Like even like I'm, the stuff that I'm moving through is I still want to see my friends.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't be in a space where they're asking me, like because it's a slippery slope when you become a coach because it's your gift that you've also given to your friends, right? Like in throughout
Yeah.
your whole life, you've been their de facto coach in some way, but now it's
Mm-hmm.
also who you are as a business. So when you see them, there's some of that blend.
Yeah.
And so how do you still show up with the people you love without draining, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still figuring that out. So that's when the suffering in silence comes in because then you retreat.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still trying to figure out, I don't want to do a full retreat, but I need to also be like now I'm practicing scripts with myself of being like, yes, I want to hang out, but as friends, and I don't want to talk about the heaviness of the world or
Yeah.
anything heavy going on in our lives. Can we just meet up can we do coffee? Can we do friends and like play games or something? And like that has helped
Mm-hmm.
a little bit where then I'm not worried about going to a space and having to carry more. But
Yeah.
that's the part of asking. Like, okay,
Yes,
need,
well,
right?
my
But it's
kids are so
tough.
good at that. My kids, so my kids are all adults. My oldest is 33 and my youngest is 25. But my kids, I would say my daughters are really, really good at that. And and I mean, we have a really good relationship, so maybe they feel very comfortable talking to me that way because they know I'm not going to respond badly. I'll just accept it. So like one of my daughters will say to me, like if I start talking about the heaviness of the world or things that are going on in the world, my oldest will be like, "Yeah, I don't have the capacity for that right now, Mom. Yeah, I'm just not. I got my head in the sand and I prefer to be that way right now." And I'm like, "Okay." And then we just change the subject. But
Yeah.
like she's comfortable saying that to me and I get that because I get into that space too sometimes.
Yeah.
I just want to feel light and
Yeah,
have,
exactly.
and focus on that. And it's
Yeah.
it's
But they learned that from you, right? I mean, that's what's beautiful.
I suppose, but
Yeah.
they're just really, when I was their age, I was not good at that.
Yeah. Oh
So,
no, no, me either. But
yeah.
we then pass on what we've learned, right?
Yeah. Yeah, my youngest is really good at that, like setting boundaries. I've always been like
Yeah.
really impressed with her, where she calls me when she's walking to work. She lives in the city. And so that's when we talk when she's walking to work. And she'll be like, we'll be talking. She'll be like, she'll set the boundary at the beginning of the phone call. She'll be like, as soon as I get to the park, I'm going to get off because I just want to listen to music before I go in. And
Yeah.
like, so she sets the boundary and
That's the
then she's like, okay,
expectation.
I'm at the park. Okay, I'll talk to you later. See you later. Bye.
Exactly.
And
Yep.
I'm
Yep. Amazing.
I admire that because
Yep.
never would I have ever done that when I'm in my 20s,
Exactly. But I'm sure they learned that from you, because those are part of like the scripts I even have in my workworkbook on how to like set
Yeah.
expectations. And when you set expectations, everyone's fine, right? Because when you
Yes.
set it, you're like, okay, I know what to expect. And it's when
Yes.
people react badly when they don't know what to expect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like that myself.
Yeah.
So going into that subject of, because this podcast is all about self-care and
Yeah.
everything we've been talking about as far as I'm concerned is self-care.
Yeah, definitely.
But going into, I believe there's different levels of self-care. So
Yes.
you have the self-care where you're doing like the breath work and the bubble baths and
Yes.
tea with a friend or something like that. And then you have that deeper level of self-care of learning how to set boundaries and maintain them and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So going into like that more of a surface level self-care, what are some of the things that you really like hold on to for yourself that really, really help keep your cup filled so that you
Yeah.
have that resilience to move through your life?
Exactly. Yeah. For me, I think, um, and there's a couple things. I'm trying to think about it. So we're going to do more the surface level, right? So I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
the surface level self-care for me is I have to spend like 15 minutes before going to bed. And we were talking about this earlier with the celebration calendar.
Mm-hmm.
and that's my own time. Like, and I'm not celebrating milestones. Like, so I think that's a big thing for me because I was always celebrating the destination.
Mm-hmm.
I have to celebrate living my values, who I helped, like that I wanted to help, or something I could celebrate for that day, and that's mine. And so I
Yeah.
have like those calendars you get in the mail.
Mm-hmm.
I fill it up every day. And it could be like anything. So I feel because I was a high achiever, I feel guilty when I rest, even though rest
Mm-hmm.
is resilience, right? I mean,
Same.
it's resilience, it's resistance, it's all sorts of things, but I still have that ingrained. And so I'll celebrate that if I have a day of rest. Like I came back from the holidays, I was exhausted because I was helping my sister host.
Yeah.
And I decided, even this Monday, I was like, you know what? I am just going to binge watch a show all day. But I have
Yeah.
to fight the guilt of
Yes.
sitting down all day watching a binge show. There's so many things to do, there's so many things to this.
Yeah.
And I celebrate that on my calendar. I'm like, I just binge watched a show all day. I rested. And,
That's
and I decided to
love
rest.
that.
And so and that's part of the freedom, right? So one of the things I value is freedom. And so I then because then at night I can change it from guilt to being like, look, you're living under your values. You wanted freedom. Freedom allows you on Monday to binge watch,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I'm living that value that I'm resting. Um, it's filling my cup to just spend a day doing that, and that it's
Yeah.
okay. And it doesn't mean that I'm letting go responsibilities or anything. It is what it is nice. And so that's part of like my own thing that's mine. Because the breath work, I do it in community.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the other things like you said, like the superficial things I do on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And they're really important to me. But this one is like I have to do it every day. It's mine and my own. No one shares it. It's my calendar that then I can like reflect on. I can look at for the whole year. Um, and keeps me in tune. I also every morning, and it's different for everybody. It's like it's the tools that worked for you to get you out of rock bottom, right? And so for me, and that you use every day.
Yeah.
The other one is I wake up and I read testimonials of people I've helped. And I mean testimonials, not just business, like anything. Like somebody's messages me and like, you really helped me get through that, or like that are people I care, or like you gave me, I feel, I was thinking of like abandoning everything and now I have purpose or meaning, right?
Mm-hmm.
5 of those each morning to
Yeah.
remind myself of like my value and what's my service, like to be surprised with synchronicity too, like a lot of these were unexpected, and to be
Mm-hmm.
open to that. And I also love tarot. So I'll do
Yeah.
readings, and there's science behind it too, right? There's science that speaks to your subconscious,
Mm-hmm.
and so yeah, those are the things that are mine.
I love doing tarot in the morning.
Right, I love it too.
Yeah, I think it's so much fun. I love doing that. That's a beautiful practice, by the way. I've never heard of anyone say anything like that, and I think that's a beautiful practice to have. It's a really good check-in with yourself every day that you're living in alignment with yourself, and
Exactly.
that's a really cool way to do it. So I appreciate you sharing that. That was really cool. So how can people find you and connect with you? What's the best places?
Instagram, I'm there under be act change. So like be yourself, take action, change the world. And
Okay.
when I mean take action, it's that like alignment, hey, like it's self-awareness and
Hmm.
anything, right? Whatever vision you have. So I'm there and I respond to all my DMs. So
Okay.
there, Instagram's the best place. And then I'm also like on LinkedIn, right under my name.
Hmm.
But yeah, so
Okay.
but Instagram is where my community is. I get a lot of my conversations is through stories, right? So I'll do stories and people respond, and so I love the building the community, and my people prefer one-on-one.
Hmm.
So I enjoy that a lot. And so yeah, you could find me on Instagram, and I also have my book if you want to learn more about it and
Yes.
do the work, and yeah.
That would be cool. Yeah, I'll put those links in the show notes so people can connect with you.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for coming on today and sharing that personal story at the end, and that was beautiful. And thank you for the work that you're doing in the world.
Same. This is awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a new one. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, I'd love it if you could leave a review. It helps get the show in front of more people who might need this type of support. And if you're ready to take your everyday self-care even deeper, come join us inside the Soul Aligned Life Patreon. Every week, you'll get new self-care practices and tools to help reduce stress and overwhelm. Plus, we do a monthly reset to keep you aligned and supported always. You'll find the link in the show notes, and I'd love to see you there. Until next time, be sure to take good care of yourself. Love you. Bye.